A new cross-Canada coalition of feminist organizations wants to make basic income guarantee a national election issue. So they're calling on all federal parties to include it in their platforms as a policy commitment. Women's Network P.E.I. is one of the groups making that call. Executive Director Jillian Kilfoil is my guest in studio tonight. Really nice to catch up with you.
Thanks for having me.
So have you been able to get any commitments yet as part of this campaign?
You know, nothing in writing.
Okay.
There's a lot of candidates, there's a lot of people who have been elected before that have pledged their support for basic income. But not all parties have made it front and center in their campaign yet, unfortunately.
So how did this campaign begin for you?
Yeah, so P.E.I. has kind of been the hub of the basic income movement in Canada for many years. And so Women's Network has partnered with the Working Group for a Livable Income, and we're working on a project called Act Big, advocating Canada towards basic income guarantee. And that project has a few different components. And so we're building this feminist coalition of like-minded organizations to get them putting basic income front and center in the work that they do as well. We're also hosting a national conference here in June where we'll be bringing experts and interested folks together to learn more about basic income. And we've also got some door hangers that we're passing out during the election as well. So it's kind of part of a broader campaign where we're just trying to really leverage all that energy around basic income in P.E.I. and bring that to the rest of the country and hopefully stir up as much momentum there as we've had here in P.E.I. over the past few decades now at this point.
Yeah, we've certainly been talking about it for a very long time. And I guess the next step is actually getting that commitment and putting it into action. So you mentioned the door hangers. What are the questions you would like people to be engaging in at the front door?
So we'd love for people to have those door hangers at their house, and if a candidate comes along and wants to talk to them, they know that this household supports basic income guarantee, and we really want candidates, if they're really committed to eradicating poverty, this is the most effective way to do it. And so we want to hear from candidates and future elected officials what their stance is, what is their belief related to basic income, and how would they use their future role to be able to leverage some action related to the implementation of a basic income.
And a basic income guarantee does not take away other social programs.
Excellent question. It's really complementary to existing programs. It will help a lot of people, but it's not a magic bullet that will then eradicate the need for other social programs like daycare subsidies, like affordable housing. And so this is really something that's complementary and that would support some of the challenges that we're seeing in some of the existing systems and programs that are out there.
What about other issues on this election campaign? Because it feels like a lot of it has been overshadowed by Trump and the tariffs. Do you feel that way when you're advocating for things like this?
You know, it does feel like the bandwidth has been taken up for a lot of people with what's going on in the U.S., with the impact of tariffs in Canada. And so I think we are hearing, it's not that Canadians or Islanders don't care about those issues, but they may be shelved a little bit at this moment because of kind of the acute situation south of the border. What we're saying is that basic income and what's happening in the U.S. and what's happening with the trade wars is exactly why we need basic income. Instead of something happening and us trying to carve out, okay, is it steel workers who need support? Is it a CERB type program? With basic income, you already have the infrastructure in place. And if something happens where people need more income to be able to weather a storm like tariffs, you already have that in place. And so we're saying instead of kind of slicing and dicing a program every time a challenge arises, let's have something existing that we can build on if the need becomes greater.
Is there a fear that you hear about from people about the cost of implementing this type of program and who it actually benefits? Because when you raise people up, it actually does have an effect on the entire community, right?
Absolutely. I think the two most persistent myths around basic income is that it costs a lot and people won't have an incentive to work. And the reality is that we're going to pay for it. Either we can pay it up front by trying to prevent some of these costly situations that burden our healthcare system and other systems, or we can pay for it later. And paying for it later is actually more expensive. And when we look at costing, we really need to look at income inequality. Basic income isn't just about eradicating poverty, it's about lessening income inequality. And so we need more of a progressive tax on the ultra wealthy, the billionaires, who have concentrated so much wealth in the hands of a few that many people are struggling in society. And so we really see the cost of basic income needing to include taxing large corporations and those billionaires that have concentrated too much wealth in the hands of a few families. And when we look at the myth around workforce attachment, people are still very motivated to work. And the reality is that we have people working 40 hours a week or more, and they still can't cover their basic needs.
We hear that from the food bank all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So something isn't working. And people will still go out and work. People are very motivated. A big impact of basic income guarantee is that more people open businesses. It's great for small business and entrepreneurs. If you knew you had a guaranteed income, what kind of risk would you take to open a new business that you may not take without that guarantee? And so I think that is often what people think, oh, people won't want to work or it costs too much. But I think if we look at taxing people who have way too much already to redistribute that to people who don't have enough, and if we look at people just interacting with the workforce in a different way, then we're not going to see any impacts on the workforce overall.
And we know that wage gap, right, keeps growing and growing. So, all right, well, thank you so much for spending some time with us, Jillian Kilfoil. Really good to see you.
Thanks for your interest.